Some superheroes are demonstrated to be unbreakable and undefeatable in their first game. But what if I told you that everyone that was important to Spider-Man was taken away either by being killed, twisted, or drifted apart at some point in the game? And not only did he not give up, he never even came close. That's why I love Spider-Man. It's uncanny how positive this game is despite the terrible events happening in it, like constantly. And when trying to figure out what it was that made this game so upbeat, so hopeful, I realized it's the people. It's Peter realizing he'll be evicted soon if he doesn't pay rent, but instead deciding to go save lives as Spider-Man without a hint of bitterness or regret. It's Aunt May spending her later years helping the homeless find shelter, jobs, and hope at the feast centers. J. Jonah Jameson giving hope to New Yorkers in hard times using his words, even though he hates you.
A webbed pervert walks among us!
Hard-ass Police Chief Yuri working with Spider-Man to save lives, despite risking her job every time she does so. This game made me a brighter person. So much of that is due to the characters being such unrelentingly good and flawed human beings, and it's not because these characters have easy lives, far from it. Most of them actually suffer often. But it's the response to this suffering, and in that response, the choice to be good, to be kind, to help others and fight for what they believe in every day, to keep going despite the horrible failures and tragedies of life. Peter is the forefront of that choice, and likely one of the greatest underdogs in gaming or comics. He loses MJ before the game starts, gets evicted from his home, betrayed by his mentor, 14 bones broken, and while homeless, still decides to do what is right, to keep on fighting. If that's not inspiring, I don't know what is. Spider-Man is a way of life and a lesson. To push through, to not let life leave you jaded, to stay strong and kind. Despite the absolute freight trains of difficulty coming your way, you can push through. You are worth something. You can be good, even if you don't have superpowers. Even if you're just some kid, you can do what is right. You can make a difference. You can save others. I know the MJ and Miles stealth sections are kind of contentious as a topic. I mean, taking away all the cool Spidey powers and trading them for nothing until you get a fucking lure and a stun gun. Wow, okay. It's kind of a bummer, honestly, but I still think it highlighted something important despite its flaws. It showed us the difficulty of doing something right in this world without superpowers. Peter risks his life every time he goes on patrol, but MJ or Miles, they can't dodge bullets, they can't lift cars, or stop villains head on. If they're caught, they will die, and yet they decide to risk their lives for others. And it's the idea that Spider-Man is not alone in this fight, that there are others who will put their lives on the line to do the right thing. They believe in him and he in them, making their hopes so much stronger. And that really hammers home that anyone willing to do the right thing for others can wear the mask of Spider-Man. But this hope is challenged constantly by so many. Sometimes it feels like everyone is trying to break Spider-Man, trying to destroy this hope, this world mangling people into something far more menacing. Martin Lee was just a kid who loved his parents. He had powers that were tested by Oscorp, with Osborn rushing the test, causing Martin Lee to accidentally kill both his parents due to the fact he couldn't control his powers yet. But it was Osborn's carelessness that rushed them all to this conclusion. Osborn caused all of it. Now many would fall into depression, give up on being anything but their own hatred. And yet Martin was the one who opened the feast centers, shelters, for the homeless and downtrodden of New York, helping them find a new future along with Aunt May's help. Martin was a pillar of the community. He saved so many people, and yet his fall was inevitable. So much sadness, guilt, and rage directed at Osborn for years, with no outlet, never acting on it, never venting it. It was bound to escape violently, targeted at the one who took his parents from him. I can't imagine how killing one's own parents shatters a person, and in that shattering, Martin's rage festered and grew until he acted destroying everything Osborn had. Speaking of rage, Otto Octavius was a bright, resilient genius and mentor to Peter. Failed experiments, detractors, and rivals never stopped him. Despite being offered to work at Oscorp for a huge check, he decided to work for his conscience. Oscorp cares more about making money rather than helping people. Otto could never let go of his ethics, no matter how many times his experiments failed or how many times Osborn got in his way. This was inspiring to Peter. It likely reminded him of someone else who will never give up either. Otto was there the day Martin's parents died. He was disgusted by Osborn's carelessness. Otto and Osborn formed Oscorp together. But Otto left due to the lack of morality and ethics of Osborn, who is the mayor of this game, sadly. Imagine how inspiring this is to Peter. Otto never losing himself in the weeds of corruption or cynicism, never lowering himself to...
You have no idea what you're in for.
Otto's goal was to create a new prosthetic arm to help those who will need it. His only concern for money was if there was enough to fund the experiments and pay Peter. Peter even offered to work for free when Otto was literally unable to pay him anymore. With Peter's help, Otto achieved his dream, creating a new set of prosthetic arms better than his original design, and freakier, using a neural network implanted in the back of his skull to control them. Imagine always looking on the positive side because you don't have a choice, desperately trying to fight against a world that belittles you, being unable to pay the one person who looks up to you and believes in you the most. Otto's resentment was building all along, and when he implanted the neural network of the arms into his skull, it started to cause radical changes in his personality. His negative traits were elevated, while the positives were now mitigated. He still cared about Peter, but his heightened paranoia and bitter anger caused him to jump to horrific conclusions about Pete that were of course false, but not to Otto.
Parker. Always listening, aren't you? Always observing, memorizing, stealing. Who have you told about the neural interface, About my work? Well, it stops here, Parker. I trusted you. But instead of recognizing my genius, what did you do? Tried to tear it down. Accused it of flaws. There are no flaws. It's a thing of beauty.
Peter takes his pain and decides to make a better world as Spider-Man. Yes, you can argue that he does so to help alleviate his guilt, but at the end of the day, Spider-Man always puts the well-being of others before himself. Even when homeless, beaten, hated, and betrayed, Peter is the purest form of good, always sacrificing again and again for his friends, his family, for every single New Yorker, as Spider-Man. Martin was close to that kind of path too. He could have stayed on it, stayed a good man, but his rage was overpowering, twisting him into someone who will kill as many innocent people as it takes to destroy Osborn, even killing Jefferson Davis, a hero and father of Miles Morales. Martin lowering himself to the most vile villains imaginable. The worst part, I think, is that Martin made the conscious decision to kill these civilians instead of killing Osborn. Martin wants Osborn to die, but only after he's lost everything. Only when Osborn has nothing will he kill him. We know this because during an Osborn rally, one of his employees hands him a phone that had Martin Lee on the other end. Martin made some threats, then bombed the rally, but he only does so after Mayor Osborn leaves, and the guy who handed Osborn the phone was working for Martin and was one of the bombers. He had him right there. Martin could have had his man trigger the bomb, stabbed him, shot him, done anything using this man, but he didn't. He waited for Osborn to get to safety, threatening him. Martin wanted him to know, intimately, that everything he built would crumble. Martin put his revenge above the lives of civilians over and over again in the most ruthless of ways. This was the point of no return. He was gone. It's tragically the same with Otto. Blinded by his rage, released a deadly virus called Devil's Breath. This virus was manufactured by Oscorp with the goal of curing diseases, but it was unfinished and dangerous in this state, this knowledge ruining Mayor Osborn's reputation much to Otto's satisfaction. Otto now in the same cycle as Martin, sacrificing innocent lives to ruin the man he hated most. This virus infecting Aunt May, and he even beat Spider-Man to a pulp knowing it was Peter the whole time, and still doing it. These once great men took their pain and destroyed the world with it. So much death of people who had nothing to do with Osborn, who had nothing to do with them. What hurts so much is that these men were inspirations. Martin to everyone he'd helped at Feast, and Otto to Peter, both as a mentor and dear friend. Now Spider-Man must stop them both. Reaching out will not work, but still Peter does so anyway, asking them both to remember the men they used to be, though it sadly fell on deaf ears. Peter did what Spider-Man always does, Martin being the easier fight, but Doc ramping it up a notch, at least story-wise. Gameplay difficulty-wise, these fights are a joke, but still fun. Here Otto reveals that he knew Peter was Spider-Man the whole time, and I don't think I've ever seen Peter this angry.
Such a disappointment. Parker.
You knew?
I tried to warn you, Peter, but you didn't listen.
You knew?
I won't let you win. This means too much to me.
Not more than it means to me!
Beating the snot out of Otto felt amazing. The best comeuppance in the entire game. But when it's over, Peter gets the anti-serum to cure the city of the Devil's Breath virus, but Otto begs him to save him.
Peter, I saw you as a son. I should have known you'd turn on me, just like all the others.
Turn. I've worshipped you. Your mind, your conscience, wanting to help others. The way you never gave up.
That's because men like us have a duty, a responsibility, to use our talents in the service of others. Even if they don't appreciate it, we have to do what's best for those beneath us, whether they understand it or not.
No, you're wrong! You are everything I wanted to be! You just threw it away!
Yes, of course. You're right, Peter. Oh, I see that now. The neural interface affected my mind. But I can fix it. We can fix it. Together. If you'll help me.
Do everything I can. I'll make sure you get the best help.
No! If they put me away, they'll take my arms. I'll be trapped in this useless body. Please, Peter. That wasn't me. You said you'd never abandon me. You promised. Remember? And of course, you'll rest easy, knowing your secret is safe with me.
You do what you think is best, Doc. It's all any of us can.
Peter?
Even when it hurts like hell.
Peter, where are you going? Peter? Peter!
But it's this last line, that last line of the sinister Otto peeking through, that sealed his fate. I think Peter realized for the final time that this man is above redemption, leaving him to his fate, in prison, even though it hurt like hell. The last test Spider-Man faces is the anti-serum. He could give some to Aunt May right now, saving her life, but This would use all the anti-serum, or they could mass produce it and have an antidote later, but Aunt May will have died by then. If you save Aunt May, thousands, perhaps even millions others will die. But if you save the civilians, Aunt May will die. What happens next is, well, I'll just let it play out.
You're gonna be okay, ma'am. I've got the cure right here.
Take off your mask. I want to see my nephew.
You knew?
I've known for a while.
I never wanted you to worry.
I did. And I am so proud of you. And Ben would be too. All the people you've saved.
I don't know what to do.
Yes, you do.
Spider-Man loves his city. He loves people. Even after Uncle Ben, after Aunt May, he still isn't jaded. It's true what I said at the beginning. Everyone that was important to Spider-Man was killed, twisted, or drifted apart. But that doesn't mean someone new can't enter the picture, or that someone can't reconnect with a past love. In the end, Pete and Mary Jane make up, finding love again. And Spider-Man meets someone like him for the first time ever. Someone who also wants to do the right thing. And this massive hope to keep going, to not become jaded and look to a brighter future is why I love Spider-Man.